All right. Yay. Welcome back to the Quantum Compass podcast. This is a podcast where we explore the ripple effect of transformation. And I have Sage Summer here, which I'm so excited to talk to and have you guys to meet. And we're going to dive deep into stories of extraordinary transformation and people who are making a difference. And she definitely makes a difference in our world. She made a difference with me personally and so many other amazing women that I know. She is a stress slayer, nervous system healer, and I just can't wait for you to talk to her more. In this podcast, every episode, we're going to explore how science, energy, and soul come together to inspire change and ignite passion and empower others. And so, from wellness leaders to change makers in the industry, you're going to hear how they're harnessing their gifts and their power to make a ripple effect for the collective consciousness. So, I'm so excited to introduce Sage Summer and have her tell us about what she does in the world.
Thank you so much for having me, Jamie. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Yay, I'm so happy you're here. I love you so much.
I love you too.
So, I really just would love for you to kind of tell me and everyone more about how you help people and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll keep it pretty brief. So I've been an entrepreneur for over 11 years. And when I first started in coaching, I was, primarily just doing business coaching. But what I found over time was that, all these women, all these entrepreneurs really were having these like deeper thoughts around like, what do I want? How do I make decisions? Who am I? Is this aligned? Like all of these deeper, like really intrinsic, like value based, identity based questions and inquiries and journeys. And in parallel with that, because I'm always, kind of going along the same speed with my clients and in different growth areas of life. And I was going through just a lot of like death and rebirth cycles myself and a lot of identity shifts, personal development, mindset work, energetics, everything under the sun, you name it. And just all the tools that I was bringing into my life, I was like rapidly then bringing to my clients to support them in all of these ways. And so over the years, the like mindset, energetics, and spirituality really became a stronger and stronger and stronger component to my work. And so, really, over those years, I kind of found that like the underpinnings of everything we were doing was like slaying the stress, i.e., cutting out the complexities, stop operating in a masculine world when we're feminine women who need to be softer and slower and more in tune and more in flow, and really like rebalancing the nervous system by, coming back into who you are, clicking into alignment where things are just naturally easier and you can stop like trying to be somebody else or trying to overwork your energy and things like that so that you can truly be the centered person in your life, whether like you're an entrepreneur, you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a whole mix of things. Really like that has become the core of so much of what I do. So I still have a lot of women who come to me for business support, but ultimately, we end up kind of getting into the deeper personal stuff as well, which I love. And I believe that the intersection of the two is absolutely what we need to be successful in anything in life.
Totally agree with you. And I really feel like when I worked with you, like I was your client, and you really did help me with that a lot. Like just making things, like you said, kind of cutting out like what do we actually need to prioritize? What do we need to focus on? And how do we get that done while feeling calibrated to authenticity and what was most important, you know? Mhm.
Yeah, that's really everything.
Mhm. Yay, I love that. And so tell us more about your journey and what led you to do this type of work with people.
Yeah. I feel like I turn like every single year into like 10 years for myself. Like every couple of years I look back and I'm like, wow, I feel like I just like jumped a whole lifetime, that I'm like a whole new person. And it was funny, my husband the other day was like reflecting to me. He was like, you don't just like step into things, like you jump full into things and you just like make massive shifts to things like instantly. And I'm like, yeah, well, of course. Like if I'm feeling like something's changing, I'm going to go change it. So over the course of like the last 10 to 11 years of being an entrepreneur, I started off doing like marketing consulting, just like straight up, like a lot of copywriting. And it was for a lot of like tech companies, like in like cloud security and data science and AI and all that stuff, like when it was kind of like just coming onto the space. So I was like a super nerd doing marketing for them, writing all their copy and stuff. And that blew up and that was super successful. But then it kind of came to this moment where I was like, you know what? Like, I can do this stuff in my sleep and I'm good at it, but I'm not super happy. I don't love the work that I do. I don't feel like it's truly changing the world. And simultaneously, along with that, I was getting really sick with a gut health condition that I had been diagnosed with a couple years prior, which was called ulcerative colitis. And so I had kind of like, gone on my own healing journey, starting with conventional medicine and into holistic medicine, and just started to become really passionate about holistic health. And so, here I am in my day to day, like doing like tech marketing, but I'm like super passionate over here about holistic health and like seeing how rapidly it's healing me. And I was able to get into remission and off of all my medication. And so I was like, okay, I think there's something here. And so I decided to enroll in a couple of different health coaching certification schools while I was still running my marketing agency. And then basically upon graduating, used all my marketing skills and launched my health coaching practice, which was soon after we met, Jamie, or soon before we met. And so really kind of been like phased down my marketing agency, phased up, like ramped up my health coaching practice, ran that for many years. And then I kind of had this like kind of coming of moments thing where I started to have some people who were in my network, like health coaches, like other health coaching peers saying, well, hey, like, how are you doing the marketing part of your business? It seems to be working really well and you're selling out your launches, your website copy, looks good and all of this stuff. Like, how are you doing it? And I was like, well, I've just always kind of been doing this. Like, this is my background. And then I realized there was a huge opportunity to kind of bring in business and marketing guidance, teaching, coaching, mentorship to the health and wellness space. So I was like, well, why not combine the two things that I'm really good at and passionate about, but in an industry, health and wellness, that I'm so much more passionate about. So I kind of like fused together those two companies and then launched Health and Wellness Business School and shut down my health coaching practice. So that was like business number three. And that primarily started just with like straight up business strategy, like I said earlier. Did that for a couple of years, but then, like I said, just started to really see a lot of like the deeper energetics and spirituality and mindset, and the power that it was having on myself and my evolution. And then as I started to kind of bring up some concepts here and there to clients, I saw just how interested they were in it and started to bring it in more and more to my practice, to the point where it kind of became like the number one thing that we worked on with them. And, to this day, it is absolutely the number one thing. It's probably 70% of what we work on, and then 30% business stuff. Like, yeah, let's save that until the end of the call. We can cover that stuff in like 10 minutes. We need to spend the rest of the time digging into like, what's out of alignment here, how you can make a decision around something and why you're stuck, or do some like energy healing to kind of remove some old, stuff that's kind of standing in the way. And then kind of like through that, and we can, maybe get into this later as well. I went through a personal major identity shift, which I know you saw a lot, Jamie, too, where last year I realized that I no longer resonated with my birth given name, which was Kristen. And overnight, one night, the name Sage came to mind. And I was not expecting this. Like, I had all sorts of weird thoughts around what is this? What's going on? What do I make of this? And it just became so blaringly obvious that this was really like the identity of who I truly was, like at a soul level, at a spiritual level. And just in thinking about it, it was like all the puzzle pieces came together. And I was like, this explains why I do what I do and why people come to me for what they do and how I feel as a person and who I'm growing into. Like, Sage is almost like still somebody who's like a couple steps ahead of where I'm at right now. So I'm continuing to like grow into her, which I always love doing, is like growing into the future version of myself. So not only have like I evolved like entrepreneurially, but also personally and like literally at an identity and name level over just the last, 10 years or so.
Yes. Yes.
It just did a lot there.
No, but that I really think, just to back up, because when I was in health and wellness business school, it was so amazing. And I loved being a part of your world and your guidance. And you really have major gifts when it comes to like expression and
Mm,
helping other people express themselves but in a way that still feels like themselves, and I think that that is such a gift. And watching you like almost channel, like, I mean, I don't know if that's what you would call it, but that's how I felt. Like, we would have calls and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm trying to say, and I feel like I can't say it, and then you would just channel like me.
yep. It's my
you know
favorite thing to do.
and it was amazing, and that's such a gift. And also, I really agree with you, like the energetics of it, because I think at different stages, and I think of our health the same way, which you can identify with since you also have a health background. But, I think we go through everything in life. Like, we think we want to just, again, jump to this is what I have to do, not this is what I why I have to do it,
Yes.
and then like going through like the lessons at our own pace. Cause like I know like for me personally, I'm a slow roll, you know?
Mhm.
Like I'm slow but impactful. And so sometimes um it would be hard for me to be like I see the end game as a projector, like I see it, but it's
Yep.
going to take me a while to get there. And feeling like having guidance at like taking small steps, because I think we all see that. We see a block and like,
Yep.
okay, I know I'm going to go here, but if I don't have the energetics, I'm just kind of not really going to, if I get there, I'm not going to be able to hold there.
Yep.
And so like what you're saying, like that 70%, like I just love that, because I think that's the most important thing. And I see that now, like, because I would, watch other people. I'm like, why are they moving so fast? And then realizing like that's just not my path, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like, everyone at their own speed, I think the comparison game is one of the most toxic things we can do as
Mhm,
humans in general, but then it really gets amplified when it comes to business, and
mhm,
it's like, that's something I even realized in my own identity, that even though, like, I'm a manifesting generator, I'm a Virgo sun, like, I can go, go, go and do really fast, but I realized that, like, I do actually take slower to, like, really learn things than I even realized, and so to be able to give myself permission to then slow down once I understood that about myself, was super helpful. And yeah, so it's like learning like all these different parts of like your energetics, your mindset, just who you are, like what literally who you are at like a DNA level, at a quantum level. And then, like, how do you match that to whatever you want to do? Everything from like, how do I make a decision? Like, do I make on the fly decisions? Do I need to like sit with this for a while? What types of, programs am I best to put out? Um, what type of energy and capacity do I have to serve certain types of people? Like you said, the messaging part, like, what's my authentic message? Because I just see so many people. Again, it's like the comparison game. It's like, oh, well, I see so and so out there being really successful. So therefore, I need to sound like them. That's the fastest path to not being yourself. And then you're blending in because you're sounding like everyone else and you're not sounding like yourself. And everyone, a lot of people can just feel so like, ooh, like, it feels edgy to like sound like myself, right? Because we all think we're weird. We all think ourselves are weird, right? You're like, oh, I say things weird or whatever. And it's like, well, that's great, right? Like, that's you, be fully expressed and say things the way you would. That's memorable versus if you sound like everybody else, like it's diluted, right? So it's like all of those little components, literally like every facet of your business, every way that you make decision, every interaction you have is determined and can be guided by who you are at the core. But until you know that and until you understand how to master that, all of those parts are going to be super hard. And then that's where stress really breeds in the business and oftentimes why a business might not be successful in the first place.
yeah, absolutely. And I love talking about this because obviously I'm an entrepreneur and I help a lot of entrepreneurs also. And because I want to help people that are making a difference in the world, and really, I mean, obviously I think everybody's making a difference in the world in their own way, but like a bigger impact.
Yeah.
And I see that too. And it's so many correlations of if you're not authentic, like I think everything in frequencies, right? If you're not authentic, then you are not on operating on your highest frequency or what you're here to do. And then what I see is comparison, judgment, and expectation are the three frequencies that put us out of balance the most and the quickest, and the most pattern. Like we're just programmed in those patterns. And so busting those loops is so powerful, right?
Yeah. And I love that you brought up the expectations part because that's something I see a lot of women beat themselves up about is that like these unmet expectations of, oh, I thought I'd be here by now. I thought this would have happened. I thought these many people would have enrolled. And like, says who? Like, what in the playbook says that that was the truth, right? And, like, I know we've talked about this before in, like, past trainings around, like, being detached from, like,
Mhm.
what the exact outcome needs to look like and what's the higher perspective instead, you know? So, like, I had a client recently who, she launched a program and fewer people joined, and initially she was disappointed because she has an unmet expectation of wanting, like, however many people it was into it, and I said, "Well, what's another perspective? What's another story here?" And she was like, "Well, actually, this is the first time I've run this program. I'm kind of nervous, and so it'd kind of be nice to have a smaller group so it, like, feels a bit easier and I can, like, get to know them more and just, like, not, feel as much pressure with as many people in." And I was like, "Well, that's perfect, right? Because then if you did get the total number of people you wanted in and that made you feel not those ways, would it have like been really stressful, really hard on you. And like once she got into it, she was like, oh my gosh, yes, this was the perfect number of people I needed for this. And I was like, exactly. So like being open to whatever comes in is divinely orchestrated and probably like super subconsciously you were manifesting anyways. Just the analytical mind gets in the way and fixates on these numbers or wants to reach goals that like other people are reaching, but they're not ours or they're not ours right now or in this timeline.
Mm. I'm actually so happy you said that because I really want to dive deeper on this. I think this is something that took me a really long time to get is exactly what you just said of almost this concept of like, why do we think we know better than the universe's role? And then but I used to do this where I would think, okay, I'm so excited, I'm all in, I have this big idea and I'm going for it. And then I would feel like it wasn't, yeah, like it wasn't stacking the way that I felt like I needed to. So then I would question my own energetics. Like that would be where I went like, am I blocking this without realizing I'm blocking it? How am I blocking it without realizing I'm blocking it? You know, like and then I'm like, okay, well that's now I know that's not the vibe, you know?
Yeah.
Like that, but I think in the moment before this actually snaps in your mind that you get like, oh yeah, like I'm here to flow and the universe is gonna give me what I'm actually ready for. I think that's something I'd love for you to speak on how you help people because it's so hard to not stop and question as like an energetic person to not stop and be like, how why am I blocking this? And then go into the shame cycle of block, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That just ends in full on self-sabotage, and then you feel like crap. And then what's the point, right? Like, you're not in business, you're not going through life, you're not on this planet to feel awful. We're here to feel good, we're here to have fun, we're here to play and all of these things. And so, yeah, it's a really good question. I'd say, like, like, we're allowed to have our human emotions, right? Like, we can in the moment be frustrated, we can be angry, we can be sad, we can be whatever it is, right? And, like, it's fine to feel those emotions, but then it's the problem is when we sit in it and then we let that emotion be the driver of our thoughts, right? And then our brain loves to fixate on problems. So it says, like, oh, I'm frustrated about XYZ. So here are all my frustrating thoughts that are coming up, right? And then you just create a frustrating cycle. And then there's no way out of that if you're just stuck in that loop. And so I always recommend my clients kind of like zoom out, right? Like get yourself out of the muck of what that is that you're in, right? You felt it. You've had all the thoughts, you've had all the feelings, you know the emotions related to it. Great, that's here. Those are the ingredients. Now let's zoom out. And like, what's the higher perspective here? Like, what's another story? What else could be true here instead, right? Seeing that there's never just like one absolute truth or one absolute reality, there's multitudes of it. And usually when I ask my clients that, they're like, oh, yeah, it's probably happening because of this. And their answer comes in like 5 seconds. And it's like, see, you already kind of knew. But it's like, again, it's this analytical mind that loves to be on overdrive, that loves to create problems, that loves to sit in drama, right? And it totally clouds our ability to see that there is a better way, a better lesson here, something that maybe like deep inside our soul was actually screaming for and we didn't listen, right? Like I've even had clients who in the past maybe like launched a program and nobody signed up. And they're getting super frustrated because again, they're comparing themselves. They're like, well, everybody else that I know is getting enrollments. Why did I fail? What's wrong with me? Right. And they go in that, like you said, shame spiral, right? About it. And then we ask, we kind of dig into some of those questions. They're like, well, yeah, actually, I wasn't really excited about that program. And I'm like, well, there you go. Like you weren't excited about it. And so then energetically and subconsciously, that was coming across in your marketing, in your conversations, in your sales, whatever it was you did for it. And people felt that, right? So if you weren't excited, if you weren't driving that energy, then how can you expect other people to feel it, right? And then if you truly weren't excited about it and didn't actually want to do it, then you're kind of sending that signal out to the universe like, please don't have people enroll because I don't actually want to do this. But we're so like afraid to admit that to ourselves, right? Because then we feel like we're a failure. Like, oh, well, I should be doing these types of programs. I should get these types of enrollments into my programs. I should be having this level of success. And if I'm not, then I'm, blah, 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 whatever label you want to put on yourself, right? And so then you go ahead and do it anyways. But like you said, it's out of alignment. Right. And so then energetically, it's not going to work out. And so that's why everything really does come back to alignment, right? Like, what is an alignment for you? And being able to listen to that. Sometimes it's like literally like the whisper in the wind of like your actual truth, right? Because we're so good at overriding it. We're so bad at learning about what it sounds like. I know I was for years. Like when I first started working with like my energy and spirituality coaches, Like, I would have to ask some questions about everything and have them channel stuff for me because I had no idea how to listen to, my higher
Mhm.
self, my inner voice. Like, I didn't even know what she sounded like. And then
Mhm.
over time, I just started to learn, like, as I would, like, get messages from them, then I would start to say, like, "Oh, yeah, I actually had that thought in my mind or that feeling that felt like that." And then I started to pick up more on it was like an antenna, right? It was like I got to stretch out my antenna more and hear what those were so that I could capture them in the moment and become my own voice, like, be able to listen to my own voice rather than having to outsource it. And again, that took a couple of years, to kind of learn, but, like, when you tune into that voice and really learn to like turn it up once you know what it is and how to listen to it, then it's easy to make decisions. And it's a lot easier to avoid doing the things that are out of alignment because you're getting the information right away for things that are in alignment or to not do things that aren't in alignment. And that just makes things a lot easier.
Mhm. Yeah. That's that's exactly, again, it's like such correlation to health, right? Like that's kind of how I feel like I help people with their health is what I'm calling quantum realignment. And so it's like that energetic, mental, and physical. So like getting, this the conscious mind and the subconscious mind to actually learn the language of the body's wisdom
Mhm.
because I think like that's what gets out of alignment and then everything it's like kind of the nervous system, right? Like if your nervous system is stabilized to those lower frequencies or the fear or the programming of the comparison and I need to be busy to be important and like all of the things, then
Mhm.
it's really hard until that is stabilized that to an actual different truth to even feel healthy. Like you can't as an entrepreneur or anyone, but speaking to entrepreneurs, I think like that's one of the things that's missing so much. That's why I love what you're doing because we're not I think we're not looking at necessarily our energetic hygiene, our mental hygiene, our physical health as the most important toolkit, that
Yeah.
you have to be help other people and like that integrity piece of okay, I have to be like I'm not going to help others in my best mind if I don't feel good.
Mhm.
I'm out of integrity in anything that I do. And so yeah, the 70% energetics is so important, and so I think we need everybody needs to work with you. Like, I wanna call this out too, because I think that's so important that we stop with the do-it-yourself things. I mean, that's a level, like, that's an intro level, but
Yeah.
then it's so important to work with somebody and invest in yourself in whatever all the different areas and, like, working with, somebody on a deeper level to be that mirror, that reflection, or to help you reprogram, and, like, there's just so many courses and things, and not that those aren't great for inspiration, but you
Mhm.
really should be guided by your like, what you're saying by yourself with somebody else to help you on that path, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I've had some clients say, like, it's like, at first I'm like their mirror, right? Because like I
Mhm.
can see what they can't see. And that's how my mentors were for me. And that was like a terminology that I used with them too. Like, you are a great mirror. Like, I can say things. And sometimes we don't even realize what we're saying, right? Or we don't realize what we're not saying. But then having them realize that and then like being able to then process that on your own, you're like, oh yeah, right. And then you're connecting dots in your head. And then over time, like that's like your training run. And then you learn what you sound like, or you learn how to reflect on yourself and kind of put those things together. And then that's like when you can, become more into your own in your own driver's seat once you know that. But without that like outside perspective, I know for me, like if I didn't have my coaches telling me those things or any practitioners or mentors I've worked with, even like my chiropractor gave me like massive downloads that like I would walk away from his office crying, like happy and sad tears. I'm like, damn, like that was a really hard truth, but like I needed to hear that. So whoever it comes from is super helpful and just getting out of our own way because we're so limited to like the blinders of our own perception. Right. And until
Mhm.
we have that kind of blown out and see the other possibilities, like I love to stretch the possibilities that my clients see for themselves, right? Where they'll kind of like be in their lane where they're like, well, I could like do this or like this. And it's like the other option's like an inch away from the other. It's like, well, what if you did this? And it's like way over here. And they're like, whoa, I never thought of that. And I'm like, yeah, like that could be more aligned because of X, Y, and Z that you've shared with me over the last year, last month, whatever time frame it was you were talking about that thing. And then they go and do it and they're like, wow, like that was so much easier, that was so much better or whatever. And then I'll start to notice them making more decisions like that where they'll veer off or they'll do something bigger or something more in alignment because they're learning. They're like taking those pieces and their own perception is able to expand on their own with that. And then we can keep expanding from there, right? So it's like you expand first and then again and again and again. And then you realize like how vast the universe is and there's no right or wrong answer, limitless possibilities for you to play with. It's just a matter of locking into alignment, and that's freedom.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. What would you say if you were going to say your biggest gifts? Like I already know that I experienced you channeling amazing and powerful empowerment messages that I felt like you were speaking in my voice, which was
Yeah.
amazing. But like what other superpowers and gifts do you feel like you have?
I mean, definitely the channeling part, I think, is absolutely a huge one, both when it comes to like straight up, marketing, like for creating content together, whether it's like a social media post, an email, website content, whatever. I love doing that. And really like when like I was doing that with you or any other clients, it's like kind of stepping into your head, into your voice, your personality, how you talk about things in your voice. And again, like what's unique about that versus just sounding like anybody, but then also equally channeling the mind of the person that's intended to read this, right? Like what's going to
Mhm.
be going on in their mind? What do they need to hear right now? Like what are the biggest questions? What are the biggest blocks? What are the biggest fears or hopes or whatever they might have around this topic, and what could be some potential objections they have in their mind, right? Like I know when it comes to health it's like, well, I don't know if I'm ready to make all of these changes, or hey, like I have a whole family I need to take care of, and so if I'm going to revamp my whole diet, am I all of a sudden making two different meals every single meal, and I can't do that, or whatever it is, right? And so like kind of knowing like being in the head of your audience and being able to meet that and kind of just slip that in very organically, not like an in your face kind of message, but like slip it in organically so that they know that you know what's going on in their world and that you have a solution for that, can dispel any objections, any hesitations that might prevent them from reaching out to you, and like building trust that they know, like, okay, they really get me. So
Mhm.
I love like the channeling on the marketing side of things, but also just like personally, whether it's like chatting, on Voxer, on live calls, one on one or group or whatnot, being able to really just trust what's coming through. Like half the time when I'm like on calls, my conscious mind isn't the thing that's like running the show. And at first that used to scare me. I'm like, where did that come from? Like, what did I just say? Like all the clients be like, can you repeat that? And I'm like, I actually don't know what I just said.
Yep.
And I didn't know what I was doing at first. And it kind of freaked me out for the first like month or two. And then I started to realize that it was channeling.
Right.
So it wasn't anything like I intended to do at all. But it was really powerful. And just to see like just how deeply and immediately it landed with my clients really, told me that that's what it was. So I love doing, that. Plus just like really just, like we were talking about before, like really diving into like the mindset and like what's the architecture of your mindset? What are your beliefs? What are the thoughts and stories that are running through your mind? What are the outdated programs that are still running the show and making decisions or determining how you talk about yourself or talk about whatever you do that needs an upgrade or that needs a shift or needs an expansion, and being able to then be that mirror to you, like being that expander and that mirror so that you can, crack open and grow in that exponential way as well, with the ultimate goal of being able to do it on your own. Right. Like, I don't want my clients to feel like they have to come to me forever for all of this. Like, I want to ultimately be teaching you how to do this, how to listen to your inner voice, how to see the other possibilities, how to crack your own self open, and how to shift things, and also like how to channel, or even just to like how to just let your voice roll without judgment, without trying to sound like somebody else. So these things become second nature, to you too.
What amazing gifts.
Thank you.
Really, I think, like, especially because so many people that I work with, their thyroid, their throat chakra, their expression is blocked,
Yeah.
And so to help people just feel comfortable with their own voice right there, I mean, that's changing the world,
Yeah,
especially women, Like, I mean, I think
especially
men
hard for
too,
women.
but yeah, like, helping just open that expression gate is so powerful, and especially from the nervous system, but really it's that we're all meant to have a voice and have respect for our voice and share it. And so I just think it's so beautiful that that's your gift and that's what you help people do, and so much more, but like at the core, expression.
Yeah, because that's really like how you're expressing your light, your magic, what you're meant to do, the change you're meant to have in this world. And you can't do that by trying to be or sound like somebody else, because then you're like stealing their light and trying to go on their path. But like you're here to be on your path. And the longer you fight that, the harder it's going to be for you in business. And like, it's also not easy to speak your voice, right? Or to speak your truth. It's super vulnerable because you're like, I don't know, does anybody else think this? Is it weird outside of my head if I say this to somebody else, right? Like, there's a lot of thoughts that come along with that. And, process those thoughts too. But I find that it's just so freeing. Like, I'll just encourage my clients to be like, just like say one thing. Like, just start, like, take a baby step. Like, just start saying one thing or just write one post where, like, you just like let it all out. Don't even like feel like you need to publish it. Just like write it for yourself and just like stream
Mhm.
of consciousness, write it out or like given assignments where I'm like, just like tap into your heart and like write a love letter to your dream client and just like speak your heart to their heart. You don't need to publish it, like just get it out there, like just doing exercises where you're used to hearing what your voice sounds like, hearing what your personality and tone is like in written form. Because it's so interesting. It's like, we have no problem sounding like or being ourselves when we're around like our best girlfriends, right? But then it's like as soon as we're in front of the computer, it's like, oh, we got to button up and we got to sound like somebody else. And it's like, well, why does that change? Just because there's a bigger audience or people you don't know doesn't mean you stop being yourself. It's you do be yourself because that's who you are and that's what people are craving. Nobody wants a replica of somebody else. They want you. Like people want that uniqueness. They want to know what you're all about.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm so excited to since you said that, I'm gonna go back. I have so many journals because my planners were always like quarterly planners, and we would meet every Monday for like, I don't know, it was like 2 years or
Yeah.
I don't remember how a long time. And I would always, and I still go back to our quarterly recaps and everything, but I'm
I love
excited
it.
to go back in my planners and reread all the love letters.
Yes. I know you did some.
Like, yeah, and I mean, just kind of go back every once in a while, go back and like just flip through the past, just because it's so important to see like what was I thinking, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, that was such a good idea, and I never implemented it.
Yeah.
So you like recapture my ideas that were in the quantum, in the consciousness, and like actually maybe it's time now, instead of just putting it on the shelf and never going back. I feel like
Mhm.
it's time to kind of bring those back out.
I love that. Oh, I can't wait to see what you unearth.
But it's just so cool because, I feel like there's so many prompts that you shared and, like, getting to think differently and open up around the way that you helped us, see business, and that really helped me feel empowered, and that's the same thing with health, like, that's the goal, like, you just wanna feel empowered in whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So, thank you for being you and sharing your gifts, and, I just wanted to say that as well.
Thank you. I love you brought up like the health component around like being able to kind of back to the concept of channeling and stuff because actually when you were saying that, I think where I first kind of experimented with channeling some more was actually listening to my body when it came to food. Right?
Mhm.
Of like, what food do I want? Like standing in front of my open fridge and listening to my body. And like, if it kind of like cringed, if like my stomach churned in not a good way, I'd be like, all right, I don't want that food. Versus if it was like no reaction at all, or it kind of felt like good and exciting, then I would eat it. Because I realized like so often I would like override my body's thought. It's like, well, I get an instant stomach ache when I think about eating those chips that are like cooked in canola oil or whatever, but I'll have them anyways because they sound delicious right now. But listening then instead to my stomach's churning as no, my body's saying it doesn't want that and it wants this other thing instead. And let me have that and how much better I feel with that. So even like, starting with like your own body, right? And like learning what it feels like to just relate to like food, like something that we do multiple times a day, right? And then kind of like stretching that capacity into something maybe you don't interact with as much or might be a little bit more foreign, like making a big business decision, for example, kind of like starting somewhere like that.
Oh, yeah, and definitely, I think the awareness around, let's say, journaling, but as health coach, yeah, everybody's gotta do a journal, like, I think, like, that's so important,
Yeah.
and just to teach that language of like you said, understanding, hearing, listening, reacting, responding, and what gets us like, why we don't wanna do something, and our relationship to food is the most powerful one that's, like, in our face that I think we usually choose to not think of so often, you
Yeah.
know, because there's this concept of like, I should I shouldn't have to, like, filter what comes in what I decide I want to eat, but really, it's what you're intaking and what you're deciding to extract from the information that you're putting in, and that doesn't matter if it's food, what you're reading, what you're doing, what you're putting it's all the same frequency, and I think, like, the fastest way to empowerment is taking charge back of the language of your body, and, I'm saying this because I see so often people that don't wanna do the journals. They're like, I can tell right away, and I'm sure you can see this in business too, but, like, I can tell right away, it's like, yes, this is not it's a kind of annoying. Yes, it takes
Mhm.
time. Yes, it takes intention. But if you don't do this, you're basically taking a process that we could shorten into a few months to either probably never happening because you won't, or it's gonna take triple, quadruple, a year. And
Yeah.
it's like, these are the foundations, but it's so interesting because it's like those are the blocks, right? You
Yeah.
can't I don't have time. And it's like, you actually let's play in the quantum. You have all of the things. It's a choice.
Right.
Like there's something blocking, like there's something you don't want to see, right?
Yep. Yep. Or an outdated belief of like, oh, I don't have time for this. Well, if it takes 2 seconds, then who says you don't have time? Do you not have 2 seconds? Like, where are your 2 seconds going? And does your health matter more than 2 seconds? Probably, And so, yeah, like I love that. Like, in the words of one of my prior mentors, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it's like if
Mhm.
you're ignoring certain parts of, doing your food journaling or listening to what your body says about certain foods, then how is that showing up in your relationships, in your work, in your exercise routine and whatever it is, right? Those patterns, they may look a little bit different on the outside, but the undercurrent of like your thought process and your belief system around that are probably very, very similar.
Mm. So do you use that at all as you go deeper and deeper with clients when you're looking for these patterns and these blocks? Like, do you look at how they're doing other things, or since I know that you've added more tools to your tool belt?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously depending on what it is, like if we need to kind of like zoom out and see like how
Mhm.
something across their whole life. A big correlation I usually see is between romantic relationships and business.
Oh yeah.
Like how somebody's relating to their partner, like are they being more like passive and then are they more passive on sales calls, right? Or are they like ashamed to be fully themselves in their relationship for fear of judgment if their partner doesn't accept parts of who they are, and then are they doing the same thing in their marketing and their business? So I see a lot of parallels with those.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And I see the same obviously with like health because I think it always comes back to this worth,
Mhm.
the self-worth belief of how we programmed ourselves to react and respond to other people and to ourselves and how we're treating I feel like there's 2 things, like, how we're because I think the business is an extension of us, right? So that would make sense that, like, if we're not treating ourselves in the best possible way in certain areas like health, we probably then can't physically show up, with mental clarity, physical performance, peak performance in the business, but also if we're choosing to let other people, like, external circumstances versus internal circumstances rule our lives, then that's where I see, like, this thread of worth that needs to be changed archetypally before we can expand out.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is everything. It's all connected.
Exactly, yeah, so it's just fun to see it. I mean, I know you know health too, but, like, it's fun to see it, like, in a circle,
Mhm.
So, what would you like to share with everyone? Is there anything that you're doing that's coming up that's exciting, how people could work to you with you, find you, all of the things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last little tidbit I'll just share that just came through is just, if like any parts of what we were just talking about resonate and maybe you're not fully attuned to like listening to your message, like what your internal voice is, to just like take even just a couple of minutes to like sit quiet and maybe think about a certain decision or think about like anything going on in your life. It could be in any facet, relationships, business, health, whatever, and like start to listen to that little voice. Like, what's your real truth? Right. Or like if the first answer that comes to your mind feels kind of like surface level, superficial, ask yourself, like, why? Why does that matter? What does that mean to me? And go like a couple layers deeper till you really feel like you hit the gold. And you usually feel some sort of like twinge kind of in like your solar plexus area or wherever you might like really light up. And that usually means that that's it, right? And then like just kind of using that to like practice more and more of your truth. And, it might take some time. That could be a first little exercise. But other than that, I am on social media. I'm currently taking a little hiatus off of it because I've been doing marketing on social media for all of my businesses for over 13 years now. And it just felt like a beautiful time just to take a break. So you guys are welcome to follow me, DM me, connect me. I'm just not actively posting in this current season of my life. It's been a really beautiful taking time to be offline, to be more online in my personal life with my clients, with my friends, with my husband, with my family. And it's just been so beautiful. And there's been so many lessons just from that, which is just like 10x my life. And I've loved just for the season of my life. So I have two different Instagram accounts. One is a bit more like on like the nervous system and stress side of things slash personal, which is the Sage Summer. And then my more like fully business centered one is health wellness business. You're welcome to follow me and check me out on either of those two. Send me a DM on either of them. I get notifications. I'm not like fully checked out and deleted off of any of the apps. I'm there. And I'd love to hear from you. And, right now I'm working exclusively one-on-one with clients, both in like high touch and lower touch capacities and kind of wherever you are. Everything from like, I have a program called Copy Magic where we quite literally just channel copy every single month. We hop in a call. I tune into your voice, into your audience, just like we were talking about. We'll just like rip through like launch content, website content, everyday social media posts, whatever it is. And we work on that. That's more of like a lower touch, but super potent, can prepare you for the whole month of your content if you're an entrepreneur, or like deeper dive stuff if there's like some business stuff, plus a lot more like underwiring of the mindset, energetic spirituality, and you kind of want to dive super deep into that, and then how that relays into business. I have more like intimate programs where we meet more frequently throughout the month, and really, I kind of become an extension to not only your business, but really like you as a developing person. And we kind of work hand in hand on both areas of your life in that degree. So we can totally feel it out wherever you are, whatever like you're kind of feeling into, or we can just talk about that and see where would be like the best home for you? Yeah, it's as simple as that.
Yes. Thank you. And if you're an entrepreneur, I highly recommend reaching out to Sage and working with her because she changed my life. So thank you so much. And it was such a beautiful conversation. And again, thank you for the ripple effect that you make because I know so many women that when we were in a container that you we're all together and they're all wonderful and doing amazing.
Yeah, you are.
You really inspired us all, and so I appreciate your ripple effect in this world.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and thanks for having me on.
Yes, thank you.